Welcome to Dub Life Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania Magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. All right, welcome back to Dub Life Diaries. Today's guest is somebody who embodies the do-it-yourself spirit of the VW community. Honestly, I've been looking at her videos. I'd pretty much say like nobody else. She's a content creator. She's a filmmaker. She's a storyteller. She's a hands-on mechanic who took a 69 Beetle named Helen Wheels and brought her back to life on camera. Every bolt, every weld, every triumph, all on her own. She's built an international community around her work. I could say I looked at your Facebook. You're probably close to 60,000 followers. Your Instagram is what, over 100? Over 200?
Yeah, pushing over 100, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, wow. It really is just absolutely amazing. Anyway, built an international community around her work, showing that you don't need a shop full of mechanics or a super big budget to make this vintage Volkswagen thing work. You just need passion, you need creativity, and a whole lot of persistence, from restoring Beetles to building Star Wars props, which I thought was the coolest thing about your past, all the way to SEMA and the Great Race Rally. She's living proof that art and engineering can share the same garage. Please welcome to the podcast, Miss Annie Van Orman.
Thank you. That was a very, very kind and generous introduction. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. What's up? Thank you so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it. Just this little old podcast, we're starting to get some steam, so thank you so much for your time. Before
I love
we get
it.
going, I want to give just a couple shout outs to my sponsors and some people that support me, support the podcast. You guys know Volksmania, super awesome magazine. I feel it's the flyest VW magazine on the face of the planet. Volksmania.com. You can use DubLife10, that's DUBLIFE 10 at checkout. That's US subscribers only. Shout out to Salty Dub. Salty Dub, from the beach to the bay. Salty Dub is tearing up the scene. They got some announcements coming out soon for the next V-Dubs Over the Skyway PM version. Anyhow, saltydub.com, same discount code. It'll only work on swag, DubLife10. And then finally, my buddy Chris White, Riverbank Customs. Chris is out of Pell City, Alabama. Super stand-up guy, all about the VW community. Go check out his YouTube, Riverbank Customs. You can't miss him. You can't miss his lovely Southern accent. You can't miss his love for Volkswagen. So, okay, young lady, back to you. Back to you again. Thank you for your time today. All right, so Let's talk Volkswagens.
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right.
We might be here a long time if you just open-end it like that, though. So you can ask me some questions here.
So let's go back to the beginning for you. Like, what are your very first memories of Volkswagens?
Well, I think it's like most kids, unless you've got a family member or someone close to you that's working on Volkswagens. I think it's the same for everyone, and it's sitting in the car, long road trip, and I think some people call it slug bug, other people call it punch buggy, but that's the earliest memory, is sitting in the car, because we didn't have phones back then and devices to keep us busy. So it was
right.
looking out the window, looking for the punch buggies so you can slug your sibling.
Wow.
So that's probably the earliest. Yeah.
You grew up in Canada, right?
Yeah, Canada. So I'm in Alberta, which you would consider like Western Canada. Yeah.
How did cars and creativity kind of fit into your world as a kid, looking back?
Yeah, so cars came later, I'm going to say.
Okay.
I didn't grow up in a family where we worked on cars, where we were out, doing things like that. But creativity, definitely. Like, from an early age, I came from a family where the arts were heavily focused on. And so, not only just with some of the things that my family valued with, maybe art and music and things like that, I was always out building stuff. And so my dad is a really talented woodworker. So I remember early days just watching him build things. But then also I lived out on an acreage. So we were building, tree houses and stuff. So the building bug and the creativity with that sort of aspect, that's been around since I can remember. Cars came later, but the whole idea of wanting to go out and build things and create things, that's been there just from the earliest memory.
So the artistic side's always been there, really.
Yeah, it's always really been there. It's been I started out well with I'll jump ahead a part of my degree with I had a Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Mhm.
I thought I was gonna maybe go through and do an art degree. So from an early age, I was drawing and doing things like that
Okay, okay.
creatively that way. And so I thought I was gonna take that route, but then I did something else. But yeah, creativity, drawing, building, it's been lifelong.
You know, you're a different thinker, a different type of thinker. The artistic thinker is a different thinker. I have one of my 5 kids that's also very artistic. He's my youngest.
Right.
And ever since he was just a tiny little baby, like the things that he was into versus my other or watching the way a wheel rolls on the ground and getting all up underneath it. And I'm like, and now he's in art classes and stuff too. It's so cool to see the
Yeah.
differences in people, so I can
I
imagine probably same for you.
I'd say that, people who have that artistic eye or vision, they are observers, and so they do
Yeah,
wanna
yeah,
see those things, right?
yeah.
But the funny thing is people see what I did early on in my career and early on with my life with, like, creativity and drawing and art,
Mhm.
and then later, television, video type stuff. But I think all of that really translates over to building a car. I think you have to be a creative person to build a car and have that eye, so
Yeah, sure.
I look at people who are building cars, and I think they are super creative. Like, there's a real creative sort of gene that you have to really, to excel at it, I think.
I for sure, for sure. And
Yeah.
I'm also gonna beg that it probably even boils down to just the raw nature of your IQ and your intelligence level.
Yeah, sure, maybe. I mean, if you're saying I'm smart, I'll take that compliment.
Yeah, I am, I am. And I think artistic, sometimes maybe not always the best at all the books,
Oh,
but
yeah,
but
yeah,
but typically very, very good at the artistic side and like you
yeah.
said, man, it's just that it's almost like a natural thing there.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think when you got sometimes that's just the way it happens is you got talents one place and then it's not so good the other place. So,
Yeah.
don't ask me to do, like, mental math and stuff like that, but I can do other things.
So at what point then did you realize, all right, it's gonna be about VWs. VWs is gonna be my thing.
Ah, I thought about that because it could have been so my first vehicle when I was 16 was a 1971 Super Beetle. It could have been then,
Okay.
but it wasn't really. So the story there is that my first car was a Volkswagen, and I loved to drive it. I only drove it for a couple years, and when we got rid of it when I went to college, I kinda knew that a Volkswagen would come back into my life. I really, really wanted to learn auto mechanics and just kinda, like, dive in and do that. But timing is never quite exactly right, so I don't think I knew for sure that VWs were really my thing until my late 30s when Helen came into my life and I
Okay.
started tearing her apart, and I thought, "Yeah, this is what I wanna do."
We're gonna talk about her in just a moment.
Yeah.
But let me tie back in what you had brought up with your degree, Bachelor's of Fine
Mhm.
Arts in new media.
Yeah,
Worked in animation, worked in film, also in photography.
yeah.
How do you think those very creative style experiences really kinda shape the way that you do Volkswagen restorations now?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I can tie it in completely to the whole restoration process, but I'll tie it into the way I share it. It's been a very interesting full circle moment where I really started out in media, like in literally, like, video editing and TV production, because I worked on a children's television show, and all of those sorts of aspects where it's kinda come full circle where I burned out of that. That's a burnout sort of industry. I burned out of that, and now I'm kinda back doing it. So, I don't know if it's tied in specifically with the actual restoration, but it's definitely been a really interesting moment where now I'm like, I'm kind of back in video production again.
Can't get away from it.
but it's helped a lot because I already had that foundation. I didn't need to figure anything out. It was just like,
Right.
oh,
Oh,
this is
that's so
like
nice.
advertising again.
Yeah, that's so nice because
Yeah.
I've had to figure it all out.
Yeah, exactly, and it can feel like an overwhelming, steep learning curve when you're learning it all out. So that's been one of the things that has been actually a nice thing about my background is there hasn't been any learning curve. It's just been like jumping back in. So,
Well,
you know.
something else that you mentioned that I thought was so cool, which I'm sure will resonate with a lot of people because a lot of people like Star Wars, but
Yeah.
you you built Star Wars props, right?
Yeah, so
How did you
in
get into that? Yeah, how that
well, it was kind of one of these things that just sort of happened, and it what had happened was my daughter so I've got 2 kids, a boy and a girl. My daughter, who's the youngest, she was just kind of starting preschool, and I was kinda needing a little project. She wasn't I didn't have kids at home. I needed a project, and my brother was kind of into these Star Wars props, and I thought, "Well, if he can do it, I can do it." So I kind of like sunk a bunch of money into the hobby. You have to get a little airbrush and a little compressor and then lots of tools for some of the things that you're doing. And I made one, and the one that I made, I assume you're familiar, but when Princess Leia goes and she rescues Han Solo and she's dressed as the bounty hunter, Boosh. I don't know if you're familiar, but that's the costume, that's the helmet that I made. And basically what happened was
Hey, that's
But
crazy.
ba but basically what happened was I had sunk so much money into the hobby, as we do. I mean, you kinda have to sink some money into it to kinda get going. I had sunk so much money into it that I thought, "Well, I gotta sell this thing and kinda make my money back, and then I'll make another one, and then I'll be even." And so I sold it. I put it up on a Star Wars prop forum,
Mhm.
and I sold it immediately and immediately had about 3 people say, "Can you make me one?" I thought, "Sure, why not?" That's no big deal. And it just snowballed from there, and I think I
Wow.
did it for about 5 years, and at my busiest, I had, like, a 12-month wait list for people to get on my bench so that I could make them the prop.
Wow.
And that just has to do with the costume that I was doing, this Boosh, who was Leia again. There was a big hole in the market. Nobody was making it. So I was like the only one kind of on the market making it. Everyone wants like Boba Fett and like the other bounty hunters, but not very many people were making this. So I found a hole in the market
Yeah, niche, good job.
and I became really, really busy.
Wow, what a cool story.
Yeah, and it was really fun to do. I enjoyed it, and then it just kinda the guy that I had making the base helmet, the raw helmet for me, he stopped making them, and then it just kinda fizzled, but by then I was doing Volkswagen stuff, and then it didn't matter so much, I guess.
Right, right on.
Yeah.
Alright, so back to Volkswagens then.
Yeah.
Let you touched on Helen Wheels for a second. Let's talk
Mhm.
about Helen Wheels and maybe how she came into your life, maybe even what condition she was in when you got her.
Yeah, so I wasn't looking. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, I was not looking for a project. But my husband yeah, my husband, I'm gonna blame everything that has happened since I got her is my husband's fault. Or I'll thank him for it, but but he came home from work once and he said, "Hey, I think I found a Volkswagen for you," because he's known since the beginning of our relationship that I've wanted a Volkswagen to restore. And he would occasionally come back and say, "Yeah, I think I found one," and I always felt like the timing wasn't quite right. So he sent me a pic or no, he came back and he's like, "I'm gonna go look at it," and I said, "Knock yourself out, I'm not getting one. I don't have time for this." So he went and looked at it, and he sent me some pictures, and she was in rough shape, like, she clearly needed a full body off restoration. The engine was seized. She should have been, junked, like she was not worth fixing up, and I saw that and I thought, "This is the one."
Where most
And
people would turn around, you said this is the one.
yeah, and there's a reason for that, is because he would often come back my husband would come back and say, "I found one," and he'd show it to me, and I thought, "Well, great, I can buy that one and just drive it. What's the point? I could buy that and just drive it. Who cares?" So when he sent me the picture of this one and it was rough and, heater channels needed replacing, the pans needed replacing, The engine was no good. I thought, well, at least I can get this and I can dive in and I can learn something. Like, it needs so much work. There's no way I can come out of this and not, have learned something. And even if I got it and all I did was take it apart and think, well, I can't do this, at least, I had fun taking it apart, I guess. So it needed tons of work. It was just the right sort of amount of sort of struggle, I guess.
Yeah,
That
right.
it was interesting for me. So that's kinda where she came from.
And you did everything, right? Everything on this car.
Yeah, so what I like to tell people is no hands have touched her except for mine, except for, there's, 3 jobs, 2 or 3 jobs that I couldn't do. I couldn't line bore the case. I had to take it to a machine shop, so they line bored the case for me when I rebuilt the engine, and then I couldn't press out and press in the ball joints, but that's it.
And
That's
what
everything.
what years is Helen Wheels?
She's a 1969.
She's a 69. Okay.
Yeah, but she's got those blade bumpers on her that make her look older.
Any parts of the restoration that might have stuck out? Was there any parts that, really pushed back and pushed against you? Like, anybody that rebuilds cars usually has those tough spots?
Yeah, there's 2 that I can think of. The first was she needed her whole front clip replaced, so I cut off the whole front end, and that wasn't really the issue. The clip replacement went pretty good. The problem came was her old fenders. I couldn't get one of her fenders to sit on right. And, it wouldn't have been such a big deal, but on a Volkswagen, those fenders are so iconic. You can't get that fender right. What's the point? So there was a point where I just could not figure out what was wrong with this fender, and I had done some the front clip, but also some work down by the A pillar, and I thought I've messed it up. I've screwed something up so bad that there's just this big gap between the body and the fender. Come to find out later, after just struggling with it for days and thinking I've got to light the thing on fire, finding out that her original fenders, the one was just right twisted and torqued. And so I could never get it back on. And so that's actually, if we want to talk about the other car I've got, the other car whose name is Fender.
Fender. Yeah, that's the 68 that you have,
That's
right?
the 68. We named him
Yes.
Fender because all of Helen's fenders are actually Fender's fenders.
Fenders.
Yeah, so as soon as we got new fenders on her, which again came from Fender, everything was fine, but there was a point where I just thought I must have messed something up and I was going to have to go way backwards and figure something out. But I was really glad, and again, this comes back to social media. You just have tons of input from people saying, "Well, maybe it's this and maybe it's that." And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
someone did say, "Check your fender, it might be twisted." And I didn't believe it, and it took me 2 days to go and check the fender.
Wow. That's cool though that response came, and that's what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
That was what I was gonna kinda before we started talking about Fender, I was just
Mhm.
gonna ask kinda what the response of the VW community was, because I know you shared that entire, all the steps of rebuilding that car online, right?
Yeah. One
Yeah.
of the things I kinda committed to at the beginning was I was just gonna show everything, good, bad, ugly, whatever.
Oh,
I
cool,
think there's
man.
I think there's value in that. I
Yeah.
and I know I get a lot of heat for things that don't work out and people, criticizing and stuff like that, but there's so much value in showing the good and the bad and the ugly along with the things that work out. But the response from the VW community was wonderful, and I think you'll agree the VW community is the best community.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're full of just, awesome, good people. I mean, 1 in 100 might be kinda, not so great, but for the most part, the response was awesome. I had so many people who were builders of all levels, really invested in the build, who would give lots of awesome feedback and lots of awesome advice. I made some great friends who I can, reach out to even now and be like, "Hey, this is happening. Can you tell me what you think is going on here?" So, the
Ah,
VW community, the response was amazing, and and I was really happy for that because it's hard to kinda, put yourself out there and show the mistakes and the good things, but it was awesome. They're fantastic people. I just love them.
Yeah, me too. That's why I wanted
Yeah.
to do this because
Yeah.
they're all so unique and awesome that I feel like that needs to be celebrated, you know?
Yeah.
And I look for the most creative, the most artistic, the most right? And then I also look for just the average, Volkswagen enthusiast because
Mhm.
equally, their love and their passion for these cars is the same.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they all have stories and yeah, it's so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
All right, so looking back, would you change anything about how you tackled Helen? Learn anything for getting into the
Uh,
new project?
yeah, I think so. The main thing I've learned is I probably don't have to take things quite as far.
Okay.
So, because here's the thing, when you're working on, something you've never done before, and again, I'm kind of alone in my garage. I don't have my mentor or my coach kind of, in their bay working on their stuff where I can
Right,
be like,
right.
"Hey, can you come look at this? Have I done enough?"
Yeah,
So,
wow.
sometimes I felt like I was spending more time than I needed just because I didn't know when to stop. So, with certain things, especially, strip and paint or what parts need to really be refurbed and what you can get away with, I've learned a lot more, there's a line and now I know where it is. So that was one thing that moving forward with Fender, I think it'll go faster because I'll just have a better idea of when to stop and what to do and what can be kind of like I don't want to say ignored, but just like is not a priority.
Let's talk about the creative angle of, I guess the build because a lot of it's done and documented. How do you decide what angle you're gonna take when you're, in a sense, trying to capture the journey?
I try not to make that the priority, I'll say that first, because at the end of the day, I just wanna work on my car, so I don't wanna think a lot about camera angles and stuff. But I try and get, a wide shot to make sure that people kinda because that was a few times at the beginning, I would be coming in at a really close shot, and they say, "We don't know what you're working on." So I
Ah,
try and get a wide shot. I try and get some different angles, but I don't make it a priority to try and be moving the camera every 5 minutes or something. And I've found that when I do move the camera a lot, or if I don't move the camera a lot, it doesn't really matter. People will still watch and engage. Occasionally, they'll say, "What was it that you're working on? Can we get a close up on that?" And then I'll try and do that. But in general, video capture is kind of the secondary, and I try not to overthink it, I guess, you know?
yeah. So you probably don't storyboard or anything like that. You just get out there
No,
and do it.
no, the kind of the philosophy or the process is every time I'm out in the garage, I'll throw the camera up and, whatever one little job I'm doing, that'll be what I show. So I don't sometimes when there's a complicated job where I know that, there'll be more value in showing more of the process, I might think a little bit more about how I wanna show what's happening. But sometimes a wide shot just showing what you're doing is enough. But, yeah, occasionally I'm not thinking about it, but occasionally I'll try and make a plan if it needs something that's just gonna be a little bit more involved, but I gotta keep it fun and easy and not overcomplicate it because then it's not fun anymore.
With your social medias obviously growing,
Mhm.
and your follower kind of your fan base growing, do you ever feel like there's pressure to perform on any of your content? 'Cause
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause I do, and I feel as my podcast is growing and I'm starting to get, downloads in 36 countries and, past
Right.
100,000, it's like, dude, so now sometimes I'm like, I feel it. I feel a little bit of the pressure. Are the questions still gonna be cool? Am I still gonna be, so do you feel the same thing?
Yeah, in a way, I've had lots of people before ask, they say, "Is the pressure to be uploading and creating content,
Yeah.
is that why you're doing it so much?" I can say, "No, I'd probably be out in the garage just as much." Just because I'm in the time, I've got a job right now that is very flexible, and so I've got the time right now, so I'll be doing that, but
Awesome.
I do feel like as the Helen Wheels build sort of concluded, I started to feel more pressure, and that was just because I thought, "Okay, we're almost done. is it gonna live up to the hype? Is it gonna live up to everyone who's been following along? You kinda wanna do it for the people who are following along, so
Right.
there was pressure to try and do it really, really well
Okay.
for all the people who have been watching and investing in their time watching you do it. So there was that pressure. I mean, I'm always gonna do it the way I wanna do it, but I would just really, really hoped it was the pressure of hoping that people liked it or were happy with it. You wanted them to be as happy with it as I was gonna be happy with it. So it was that kind of pressure, I guess.
Well, that's good pressure.
Yeah,
That's
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that'll motivate you. Well, not all personality types, but that would motivate me. So for
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
me too, me as well, I think,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Looking at the community feedback that you've gotten from the community, is there any, piece of feedback or anything that really stood out over the test of time that's really kind of, I don't know, either somebody that's been inspired themselves and shared something with you, or something that they shared with you that inspired you? Anything stand out from the community?
Um, I don't think I could pinpoint one individual or one person, but the feedback that I get that is probably my favorite feedback or, response or comment that I get is, "Hey," it's a comment that goes like this. It's like, "Hey, I've been watching you. I've had this project for about 4 or 5 years that hasn't been doing anything, and watching you and seeing that you're just doing it with, the tools that you have and the know-how that you have, it's inspired me to get it out and get working on it again."
Cool,
That I cannot have a better comment than that.
right?
To have someone be like,
That's like
"Man,
what you're
watching
doing it
you do."
for, probably, to inspire, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's kind of, along with when we talked about the pressure, I wanna keep doing it because I think, man, if more people can get out and because anyone who's worked on their cars and then can drive them after, you know what a wonderful, like, feeling it is to, like, to get that done. I think it's so good to go and do these things, having hobbies and goals and stuff.
Yeah,
So
love it, love it.
so like, yeah, I can't pinpoint any one person, but anyone who comes on and is like, "Man," and it's not even Volkswagen people. They're like, "Oh, I have this whatever car it is, and I haven't been working on it, but I'm gonna go do it now." I think, "Yes, that's exactly go do it. Go do it and be happy."
I love it.
Yeah.
Let's touch on women in
Yeah.
automotive. What's the message that you hope that young builders, young women are gonna take away from what you're contributing, what you're doing for work?
Yeah, so, you can go on and check your stats and the demographic and stuff. So I'll say right off, 97% of my followers are men. But I've got those 3% that are women. And I think it grows, I think year by year. It does like just move the needle moves a little bit.
Right.
But what I would love for women to see, because I think there are women out there who want to be doing this sort of thing, but they don't really know how, and by that, I mean they don't know that they can just go and do it. I remember when I started, I thought, "I'm gonna go buy a welder and nobody's gonna stop me." Because you think, "I'm not a welder. Should I be allowed to buy this?" But you're like, "Yeah, nobody's gonna stop you. Just go buy the welder and start welding." So, what I want women to see is I want them to see it and think, "Well, my husband's got tools, or my boyfriend's got tools, or my neighbor's got tools. If I just borrow a couple things and just start, taking this apart or learning how to do this." I just hope that they get inspired to go and work on their own projects. You have no idea how many women I've talked to who have said, "I just want to do this so bad, but I just don't know how." And so I'm hoping that they'll see me, and I've connected with tons of women who are doing this and then tons that are wanting to do this, that I think it's valuable to be sort of like visible in this space for other women to see.
Mm, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I'm, more power to that thought.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not one of those weirdos, I mean, I'm kinda classic, I'm kinda old school. Sometimes I ask where my socks and my belt are, but,
Hey, no
uh,
worries.
yeah,
Traditional, it's just fine. Yeah,
yeah,
it's just fine.
it's all love though, it's teamwork.
Absolutely.
My wife is the broker owner of our real estate company, so
Oh,
she's the head honcho.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. Okay, VW shows. Do you go to any? Do you frequent any?
So where I am in Canada, so that's kind of the funny thing. I know a lot of I've got a lot of followers from like places like California and
Yep.
Florida, and I know that the VW scene down there is awesome. You've always got shows to go to,
Yeah.
and lots of places where you can go and be around like VW folks. Where I am, it's very sporadic and few and far between. I'd have to drive quite far, so I haven't really been to just a VW show. I've been to
Okay.
car shows.
Okay. Fair
And
enough.
Helen's only ever been to one car show, but to go to just a Volkswagen show, I'd love to do that sometime, but I feel like I'd have to, I'd be traveling to try and get to it. I know there's a really big one out in the Vancouver area, I think, but that's like a 12-hour drive for me.
There's a guy that I did a podcast with a while back, Jaga Rai, Rai. If you go
Mhm,
back just a few
mhm.
episodes, he's got a yellow Beetle called the Outlaw. He's up in Vancouver.
Yeah, I bet he goes to there's a really big one out there every year. I bet he goes to I can't remember what it's called, but I get asked about once a year, "You coming out to this one?" And it just hasn't worked out yet, but maybe one day. I'd love to get out to that one.
Well, remember what you were saying earlier about VW people?
Yeah.
Imagine all of them congregating to one space and hanging out for the weekend.
I
It's
know,
like
it's
it
just
is so
awesome.
cool, man. And we have big shows down.
Yeah,
We have big shows. We've got shows like the show called Bug Jam. There's,
yeah,
between 8 and 900 cars, here
yeah.
in Dade City, Florida.
That's
It's absolutely unbelievable. And there are
that's
so many others that are awesome.
well,
Me and my buddies even do a couple shows, throughout the year that we get, between 2 and 400 cars. It's good stuff.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, speaking of, like, Bug Jam and stuff, I see that online every year because I follow a lot of people back who are from Florida and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
And I see that every year, and I think, "Man, I just gotta go. I just
Yeah,
have to go because 'cause it'd be so fun.
it
Because I think I'd connect with a lot of folks that follow me and that I follow back and stuff like that, so
yeah.
one of these years, I just gotta make the trek and bring Helen down and have some fun, I think.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
that for sure, for sure. Awesome. So nothing on the shows. It's interesting to have that, right? Because of specific geographic location,
Yeah.
it doesn't really award you that. It's interesting to be able to see that because, gosh, man, I guess I could say I take some of our shows for granted. I can't imagine what it would be like to not be able to go to one.
Yeah, well,
They're
there's
too
one
far away.
yeah. I mean, Volkswagen people are everywhere, but I think just in those couple places, it's just so much more,
Oh
and,
yeah,
the
I get
scene
it.
is just awesome down there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It
Mhm.
really is. Talking about the scene, you have done some other pretty crazy, wild things like SEMA and the Great Race Rally. What were those experiences like?
Yeah, they were positive and really good. I'll talk about SEMA first. SEMA, everyone knows, is just the big automotive sort of conference out in Las Vegas, and it's massive.
It's like
It's got
custom build, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
custom builds, I like hundreds of cars, maybe not hundreds, but just so many cars, and then you've got all the vendors inside and just, like, a ton of people to talk to. It was awesome and a really good experience, and, I'm gonna go again this year, which is really awesome, and part of the reason I'm going again this year is because I'll talk about the Great Race now, is the car that we drove in the Great Race, which was a 1966 Ford Fairlane, is going to SEMA. It's gonna be at a booth at SEMA. And so the Great Race, I don't know if many people are very familiar, but it is a race rally, and it's about 2,300 miles, and it goes like, we started in I think that they started in Minnesota and then ended in South Carolina. And it's a race rally, and it's not a timed event as in, like, fastest, it's like a precision event. So it's a really, really interesting event, and I really had a good time, and I had no idea how massive of an event it was, but we basically, it was like a rolling car show. So in the afternoon, you stopped for lunch, and it was like a car show, and then at night, you stopped for the evening, and it was like another car show, so you just got to meet tons of people, and we went through so many little towns and just back roads basically the whole way. It
Awesome.
was awesome. I
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how much fun it was.
Heck yeah. That sounds like fun. Sounds like something to do on a bus.
Yeah, there were no buses, but there were I think I counted there were 3 Volkswagen Beetles there.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
that ran the race, and they did really well.
Cool. It's
Yeah, which was awesome.
so how do you get ahead in a race like that? Is it about plotting, mapping, knowing where?
Okay, so yeah, so let's get into that. So
Yeah.
what you get every morning, you get your route, which is not a map. It is basically instructions where it's like some of the instructions would be like at mile marker blah blah blah, go 55 miles per hour until you see this road. And then some of it was like turn right on the first non-gravel road and then go 35 miles per hour for 12 minutes. And
Whoa.
and so this is how you win the race. You have to follow the instructions. So there's no map. You can't look and see where you're going. There's no map. It's just like,
Oh,
and then it would be stuff like where it says where you see the sign where it's a turn in the road, you have to decelerate from 55 miles per hour down to 45 miles per hour. And so it's just like, and so how you win is the organizers, they know exactly how long in time it takes to do each leg of the race. So in a day, you might have 4 legs or something like that.
okay.
So basically, they know exactly when you're supposed to start. So it's every car goes out 1 minute in between each other. So and then they have a checkpoint where someone's sitting there with a stopwatch and you come by and they click it and either you're 2 seconds early or 7 seconds late. And so the way you win is you have to be exactly on time.
Oh my
I know,
goodness.
and that's exactly how I felt. I thought, "How are we supposed to do this?" And so you can get really so it's a lot of math, actually.
Yeah.
So
I
you can get
oh,
really into it. So the veterans who have been there doing it year after year, and so you've got a navigator who's, like, telling you directions. So the ones that have been there doing it for years and years and years, they know exactly how long it takes them to stop, how much time they lose on a turn, because then you've gotta make up time.
right.
Like, it's wild. I think of all of the days, and I think it's a 9-day event, and all the legs, we only so it's called acing if you get it exactly right, we only aced 1 time.
Wow. Wow. I bet
But
you
it
my wife would probably do really good with that. She's super smart.
Yeah, and so the ones that do really well, they spend a lot of time because like I said, they go out before and they know if they're taking a turn and they can't maintain their speed on the turn, they know that
How
they've got to
much
make
they
up
have to
time.
speed up. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
then they gotta speed up to make it's
God.
wild, like, I've
So the
never seen a
person that
race like that
wins,
ever.
do you win the day or do you win the full event?
So you have to win the full event,
Okay.
and it's cash money on the table. I think the winner wins, like, $50,000,
Holy smoke.
and I think the winner this year I'll probably get this wrong, but I wanna just give you an idea of what it is. So in the 9 days and the 2,300 kilometers, I think their total time off was less than, like, 90 seconds. For
Whoa.
everything, for every leg, so that means
That's
they're acing
absolutely nuts.
it's nuts, so that means they're acing probably most of their legs. It's crazy, how can you be that on time?
You somehow,
But it's like,
practice maybe?
yeah, there's no event like it that I've ever seen ever. It's really interesting, so I'm hoping that I'll get to do that again someday. Maybe in Helen, who knows, but, if I could get
So
back to
cool.
do that again, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
cool. So the VW community, where do you think that it's headed, say, over the next 10 years?
I'm hoping good places. I feel like we need this is just my honest sort of point of view or what I'm seeing. I think we need more younger people getting into it.
Yeah.
I'm worried that some of the veterans and the older guys that are still kind of like doing the hobby and stuff like that. We need to start including more of our young people and getting them into it. Otherwise, I'm worried it's going to start shrinking a little bit.
No.
But that's just my perspective, and I'm very far away from a lot of the like you said, the VW shows and stuff, so I don't know how many like, when you go to shows, how many young people you're seeing who are working on their cars, yeah. So,
Not that many.
I feel like I'm not, like, super, super worried, but I am a little bit concerned that if we don't start getting our young people wrenching on cars, in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, nobody's gonna be able to work on them.
Yeah, yeah. So you're not the first person that has kinda said that and has felt that.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you do see some amazing folks, some amazing young people that stand out at the local
yeah.
shows, and they always stand out. You know, they're
Oh, for
young, they're
sure.
builders, they're great, and it's like, maybe even similar to a story like yours. Nobody in their
Right.
family did this. They did it on their own, and they're young, and
Yeah,
you see them, and you're just like, "Oh, man, it's just so cool." You wanna celebrate them
yeah.
because, well, why? Why VWs? And they're like, "Man, why? What are you crazy? Why how could it be anything else?" It's like, man, like, you didn't grow up around these cars or anything, like, but it's just cool. It's cool to see
Yeah,
when it happens, but you're right. It's few and far between,
yeah.
and I think that we would see a small decline, but I still feel like there are so many of these cars that are saved, that are on the road, that are being passed down by, family members
Mhm.
into different generations. I think it continues. I think it continues. It's these shows, especially down here locally, sunny Florida, hot, sunny Florida, they're just they're so live. It's like,
Mhm.
man, it really is. It's the culture is popping. So I feel like it continues, but I can predict, even if you look at pricing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pricing's
Yeah,
starting to slip just a little bit. Good time to buy.
yeah.
Great time to buy.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying, though. I don't think it'll ever go away completely.
Right.
I think in a couple decades here, it might be less vibrant as it maybe once was, but I don't think it'll ever go away. Classic cars, people will keep on working on them, but
Yeah,
yeah, I feel like
especially
if we can get
Volkswagens because they're
especially Volkswagens.
yeah.
Yeah, if we can get more people excited about it, I think that just helps, yeah.
So we're touching on events.
Yeah.
Do you think that is there a possibility that an event could be had up in your area?
I think so, and I wouldn't say, it would be a massive event, but I think if organizers got together and started reaching out to the Volkswagen folks kind of in my area, I think we could make an event happen. I don't think it would never ever be near as big as what happens, out in Vancouver or down in California, Florida, but
Yeah.
I do think that, and I wouldn't say that there are 0 events, but they're just not very big, I think.
Well, I got some rapid fire questions. These
Sure.
are usually a fast answer, fast response. If a story evolves out of it though, more power to us. We can slow down and
Sure.
talk about it, but all right, you ready?
Yep.
All right. First VW memory in one word.
Smell.
Smell. Is that the seat? Is that the engine or the seats?
So that's gonna be so other than the slug bug in the back of the car on a road trip, first memory was taking the '71 Super Beetle for a test drive before we bought it. I remember it was the first time I sat in a Volkswagen, and they've got that distinct smell.
They sure do. Cool.
Yeah.
Right, how about this one? Beetle or bus? I think I probably already know by what's behind me.
Yeah, I get roasted for this, but Beetle all the way.
Yeah, that's okay, that's okay. Alright, favorite tool in your garage?
Socket set.
Socket set. Dream road trip.
Probably if I could go across Canada. I'd love to drive across Canada, coast to coast.
Okay, and then if you could do that with somebody, dead or alive, who would you choose to go with you?
Any one of my Volkswagen ladies, and I
Okay,
got a few that are Volkswagen,
cool. Yeah,
working on cars, and it'd have to be one of them because I think that'd be tons of fun.
worst rust repair moment, and then you can tell me, did this time come from Helen Wheels?
A luggage tray.
Luggage tray. Ooh.
Not that it was really bad, but every time I pulled a piece off, there was just more to fix.
Yeah, yeah. I've
Like, it
heard
was
that
just
about the
like,
restorations.
oh, yeah,
Yeah, like, let's
yeah.
see how far, back it goes?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay. How about go-to snack when you're working in the garage?
Any kinda sour candy.
Sour candies. My kids will
Yeah.
love you. My kids will love Alright, how about the 2 giants? Well, they're kinda owned by each other, but Facebook or Instagram? If you had to pick one and one only.
Ah, if I
Okay.
had to, I'd choose Facebook right now, but honestly, my better audience is on Instagram. They're
Uh,
so nice over there.
and I think your bigger audience is also on Instagram.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, my bigger audience is there. So on if money weren't a factor, Instagram 100% of the time.
Yeah, my wife is the same as you. She loves Instagram. She starts
Yeah.
all of her posts from Instagram. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but I start all of my posts from Facebook, and then she's like, "But it didn't upload the it'll go one way, but it won't go the other." So she's Instagram
Oh,
through and through. I think just because of I don't know, it maybe just what I'm used to. I think Facebook
sure.
maybe, right? Because I
Yeah.
had that first.
Yes.
But either way, it's like algorithms and this and that, and it's like, you gotta be doing everything, like, perfect to, I guess, fit the mold. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just having fun, man.
Yeah, it's hard to chase that. I try not to chase that very much.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard to
Yeah.
chase that. Okay, any upcoming projects or any collabs or just, I don't know, anything that the listener should know?
Well, I'll be working on Fender. So Fender was kind of a parts car that I got during the Helen Wheels build, but Fender's in pretty good shape. So we're going to try and get him back on the road. So that's currently kind of at the beginning stages. And so if people want to tune in, I'll be working on that for the next couple years at least. It's a good time to jump in because you'll see the whole process. So that's kind of
Yeah, cool.
for my own like personal sort of projects. That's what I'm working on now. I am heading down to because we're going to get that Ford Fairlane ready for SEMA. I'm heading down to Florida. I'll be working on that with some of the other women who are on the team that we were
Cool. What part
for
of
the Great
Florida?
Race. What Sarasota?
Oh, dude, you're like that 25, 30 minutes from me. I'm Tampa Bay, St. Pete.
Shut up.
Yeah, yeah.
We
Maybe
could have
we'll
done this in person.
yeah, maybe we'll meet and fist bump or something.
Yeah, maybe we should. Actually, that would be cool. So
Yeah,
I'm
it would be
actually heading down Thursday and then we're working Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
so crazy,
Yeah,
man.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
I'm
you're
gonna be there.
yeah. If you are serious and we can connect for any reason, let me
Yeah.
know. I'll come. We'll at least get a picture or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, actually, let's try and do that. That would actually be awesome. I didn't realize that you were there. But yeah, so I'm actually heading down there. We're gonna be working on the Ford Fairlane, engine swap, some other stuff that we're happening,
Oh, cool.
content creation. So,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you wanna come stop by. I'm sure if you came by and hung out for a little bit, that would be totally fine. So yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, yeah, please do. I'll share my cell and stuff after this.
Yes, let's do that.
Cool. Okay. I had a couple more questions for you, really, that are more about, your followers,
Sure.
especially let's talk about the young ladies. So
Mhm.
the young ladies that are looking to, get into classic cars, they're motivated by your content. It's just hard. They're ladies or whatever obstacles they see or they feel from society. What advice do
Mhm.
you have for them?
So I think the advice I would probably give to women or ladies or young girls who are wanting to do it is to not worry so much about what other people are thinking about you.
Right.
Because there is sort of this view that, if you're working on a car, you're a certain type of person or
Right.
you're this or you're that and it's just a stereotype, right?
That's
And
right.
also there is this sort of stigma where as women we're working on these cars, we feel like unless we're perfect, we can't show it because we all of a sudden feel like, well, we're women and we don't really, where do we fit in with the industry? If we don't do things exactly right,
Right.
just get roasted.
Ah,
And I've seen it happen, not just with me, but with other content creators or other women kind of sharing what they're doing, where if they don't just perform perfectly, there's a real sort of backlash in comments of, and so for some reason the bar feels higher for us.
yeah. Well,
So,
and
yeah.
I hate that, but that's the reality of society,
Oh, yeah.
It truly is. But that's why I want your touch on, how to inspire or motivate that next young builder that has that passion that wants to get into
Yeah,
it, might feel like, I don't know, society doesn't really agree. Like,
yeah.
so?
Yeah, that's kinda how I approach it too, I think, and, you have to kind of have a tough skin a little bit and not care what people think.
Okay.
Like, if this is a passion that you have and you feel like it's something that you would be good at, why are you stopping yourself? If it's going to make you happy, why are you stopping yourself from trying to learn something? And I think where kind of the wall happens is that you'll find that a woman or maybe a young girl will want to start learning things, and very rightly so, they will go and ask maybe an older, person, a man usually, maybe a dad or an uncle or a brother, to help them do it. And what happens so often, so this will be a message for your male listeners. When someone comes to you like that, especially women, don't take the tool out of her hand and say, "I'll just do it for you."
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah, because I found for me, I would go and ask questions, and instead of being taught how to do it, and this is I will never blame any man for doing this, because this is just, again, this is kind of the nature of men and women, right?
Right.
And so a man will just want to take that tool out of your hands and do it for you, and they think they're doing you an awesome favor. And a
Right.
lot of times that is. But so for your male listeners, if a woman comes or a girl or anyone is saying, "How do I do this?" Don't take the tool out of her hands. Teach her how to use the tool. Teach her
That's
how to do it.
that's
So
awesome.
I
Nice.
think a lot of times they will have that experience, and then they'll stop asking, and then they won't continue. So
Yeah.
we just need to change that a little bit.
Okay.
So keep the tools in their hands, teach them how to do it, and
Show them.
they'll
Yeah.
keep asking if you do that. If you
Right.
take the tool out of their
Show them
hands,
through their hands. Don't
yeah,
show
yeah,
them like do it for them. No, that's great.
yeah, yeah, I
Absolutely
think
great.
that's the biggest thing, yeah.
And then any final words for the VW family across the world? Again, we're fortunate enough, and I know you know this feeling because you can see these things when you chart your reach.
Mhm,
But my podcast software shows I'm in 36 countries, and
mhm,
I'm motivated by that. I'm like, what?
yeah,
The first time I ever saw a download come from Bangladesh, I was like, "Nah, it's a bot. There's no way." I went on Google or YouTube, one of them, and I searched, Volkswagen community, air cooled, blah blah blah, Bangladesh, and I pulled up this whole scene out there. I'm like,
yeah,
"What?" Like,
it's
yeah,
incredible.
it's all over the
Yeah,
world. It's so
yeah.
cool. But
Well,
any
that
any I don't know, final words for the VW community?
I think just thank you for watching and being so amazing, and just to echo that, it really is a global community. I think there isn't a corner of the globe that people don't know Volkswagens,
Right.
and so I
Amen.
I guess just the message is just thank you for being amazing. Thank you for actually being the most amazing car community and being supportive and just like, you know, trying to get people into it and encouraging, because every time I have a problem or anything like that, it just takes one little message on social media and people are so nice. They just are like trying to help you work through it and trying to like, find the answers for you. And I know that it's not like that through like every sort of community. I've got a neighbor who recently rebuilt a 1973 Bronco. Beautiful car.
Nice. Yeah,
And he's
lovely.
like, yeah, it's a beautiful car, and
Uh,
he's done such a good job on it, but he's like, "I don't go to car shows, and I don't hang out with those car people," because he says they are so just, picky and critical and these sorts of
yeah,
things that he's like,
judgmental. Yeah,
I just can't take it." But I have never found that with the Volkswagen people, so I don't
yeah.
know what it is about Volkswagens that make us like that, but I just think we're among the top, I think.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Dub Life Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people in the dubs that drive their dreams. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at Dub Life Diaries, or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. dubliefediaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning, and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.